Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerdcore podcast and podcast that reviews movies and talks that nerd shit. This is episode 600, and it is your review of Following. As always, it is the Nerd Chicano here to host the show alongside my wonderful co-host Brad Young Yoda.
Hi, everybody. It's Monday.
It's Monday night, live and early for our patrons over at www.patreon.com/the Nerdcore at the $1 tier. This is going to be live and early for them. Going to be public for everybody else on Tuesday
On a
at 12
Tuesday.
o'clock Central Time. But of course, want to thank them so much for being the best, great people that they are, and letting us be here for them early as we get to do this podcast for them. Brad, how are you doing today, man?
Doing well, Roll. Oh, I had to take one of my dogs to the vet today, so I didn't go to work.
Oh crap. Is it okay?
Yeah, it was just a regular appointment, so
Oh, okay,
no big deal.
okay.
No big deal.
Oh, okay. I'm like, God damn
Yeah,
it,
she did
bro.
fine. So it's like, is there anything wrong with her? I'm like, I don't know. She's German Shepherd and Husky mix. That's probably it.
Yeah. It's like,
It's, I don't know. She is the
who
way
knows?
she is. I don't.
Yeah.
Other than that, she's perfectly fine.
Who knows, right?
Who knows?
Yeah. Who
In
knows?
this genetic makeup, who knows?
Oh my god. But
I did watch two movies though.
what you watch, Brad?
I watched one today, but I watched one called Bottle Shock
Never heard of
and
it.
Bottle Shock. So it's in the 1970s they had a tasting in France where they had a blind tasting and this shop owner brought in wines from California, from Napa Valley, and that's where all the Napa Valley ones won the awards over the French wines, and it created this whole stir. This movie starred Alan Rickman though,
Mm.
but sadly not great. I'd probably give it like a 6. Not great. I liked Alan Rickman in it, but it was kind of meh.
Yeah.
And then I watched what the hell, Sideways.
Sitting sideways. Nah.
Not that one.
Different one, right?
Yeah. So this starring it's Giamatti, Paul Giamatti, and Thomas Hayden Church.
Okay.
And these guys, they go to basically to wine country for Thomas Hayden Church's character's before his wedding. So they both go up there, and Thomas Hayden Church's character is a piece of shit, and that's kind of how you deal with that. So
Okay.
that's pretty good. I'd probably give it like a 7 or 8.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So I mean, why would you watch any more wine stuff though if you're what's it called? So uneducated about it.
I don't know.
Jobless.
Maybe I'm trying to educate myself instead of
Yeah.
being numbnuts, non job having, non knowledgeable,
Well,
you know.
today you didn't have a job because you
I
went to
didn't.
you went
Yeah.
decided to go to the vet, right?
Oh, I used my PTO of the 1,000 hours I've had that I haven't gone to job for. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
fuck that guy.
Oh my god. Oh man. Well, I'm glad that you got to watch something else, and of course, I hope that you enjoyed some at least the process of watching that. I
I
know
mean,
one
it
of them.
was like I don't know, the bottle shock. It just wasn't very well written. I don't think it was
Yeah.
very well directed. It was kind of stupid. And it says based on a true story, which leaves it in very open terms if people don't know. Based on a true
Hmm.
story means, yeah, that happened in some way that isn't anything like this movie, which is what this was. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's Alan Rickman on there. I had to watch it because I do enjoy it. Alan Rickman, you know,
Yeah.
casting. Sideways, actually pretty good. Paul Giamatti and you know, pretty freaking good actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I haven't watched anything. I was just I watched this film today here at home. Um, Very different, right? Yeah, usually where I watch it. But I watched that today at home, and I just did that. I tried to rewatch Secret Invasion, but I kind of fell asleep. Um,
Tells you how good this episode
tired.
was.
Yep. Yeah, I'm feeling a little tired, man. I just it's just I fell asleep kind of late last night, so I'm right now I'm just kind of tired. But we are going to continue though. But I didn't watch anything. I wanted to finish up Come and See because I need to do a review on it for the for my channel. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish it tonight. I think I'm gonna just do these episodes we gotta do here, and then I'm gonna go straight to bed. But we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see. Yeah, I got like an hour and 22 minutes left in that movie, so we'll see. Maybe I just want to knock it out, but we'll see how that goes.
it's a pretty long movie.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 22 minutes, so
Yeah,
it's I need to get on it, but I need to edit the other video as well, so there's that as well. But that's neither here nor there. But I didn't watch anything, but of course, we should probably get into this because that's what they want to hear. We want to hear our conclusion for the public of our Christopher Nolan month. But if you actually want to hear the actual real conclusion, you can go to patreon.com/nerdcore, pledge those $5, and you'll be able to get this month's exclusive review of Dunkirk as we talk about that. And then we'll have that up this week. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get ready to do this, man. So, if you've never seen Following, you should probably get out of here if you care about spoilers. But if you don't care about spoilers or you've already seen the film, then you should stay. Either way, how any of that goes, this is your one and only spoiler warning, and it is in effect in a five, four, three, two, one. All right, Brad. So, do us the favor of introducing us to Christopher Nolan's directorial debut. Following.
all right, Raul, coming from our one and only source, Wikipedia. Following is a 1998 independent neo-noir crime thriller film written, produced, edited, and directed by Christopher Nolan. It tells the story of a young man who follows strangers around the streets of London and is drawn into a criminal underworld when he fails to keep his distance. As Nolan's debut feature, it was designed to be as inexpensive as possible to make. Scenes were heavily rehearsed so that just one or two takes were needed to economize on 16mm film stock, the production's greatest expense, and for which Nolan was paying from his salary. Unable to afford expensive professional lighting equipment, Nolan mostly used available light, along with writing, directing, and photographing the film. Nolan also helped in editing and production. The film was released by the Criterion Collection on both Blu-ray and DVD in North America on December 11th, 2012. And directed, written by Christopher Nolan, as it says, starring Jeremy Theobald, Alex Ha, Lucy Russell, John Nolan. Cinematography, Christopher Nolan. Edited by Gareth Hill, Christopher Nolan. Music by David Julian. And actually, yeah, and the release date, it did say 1998, so that was just Blu-ray, was in 2012. Okay.
Yeah.
Running time is 70 minutes. Budget £6,000. Box office $48,482 from all three theaters it screened at, probably.
Yeah. This one I actually randomly found it because I never find this movie on Blu-ray at all because I know the Criterion did a release of it on Blu-ray. I never find this anywhere, dude. And every time I've looked for it
Is it just
online,
a low release? Was that?
that ends like it's not really what's it called a really popular one. But I
That's
was at a
surprising being a Nolan film, though,
yeah
especially debut. You think it'd be a little more popular.
yeah and it's an earlier, well, not an earlier, but it is not like a recent release. It's by number 638, so it's a couple years old. But I went to a Barnes and Nobles recently before watching Oppenheimer, and I found this film. I found 3 copies of this movie
Oh shit.
on Criterion, man. Um, so I was like, wow. If I really cared about this movie, I would have bought it. But you know, um, I probably should have because there's a short film on there. Oh man, yeah, there's a short film in there. But I think that this is not the last time this movie's gonna get cleaned up. I think there's a lot to clean up.
No,
Yeah,
there's yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe it'll happen again. So yeah, I know that there's like it comes with a surround sound mix of it. There's an audio commentary. There's an interview. There's a chronological edit of the movie in that one. Um, and yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff in here. But with that said, Brad, what are your initial thoughts on following?
So I ended up watching this on Tubi. The first thing I saw it was on Tubi, so I'm like, cool. But yeah, the it was a very grainy film. You could tell this was done on the cheap. It didn't look bad, but anything you saw that was kind of white or very light, you could tell it was grainy. But other than that, I mean, you could you can definitely tell this is early Christopher Nolan. You can tell like the way he shoots stuff, he's figuring out. Because certain setups and framing devices, it's just Nolan. Casting wise, I like the cast. I mean, for 2 guys on here who have nothing else because you can't click on their names. I mean, I thought it was pretty interesting. The whole go around, follow a guy, and then this guy notices you because he's a career criminal, and you end up going to his world, and he tries to screw you over. Very interesting, very Nolan noir. Um, but the thing this lacks is definitely the Nolan budget that we always see,
Yeah,
and Nolan's pacing. Like he doesn't have the pacing down in this movie. This is a very slow, methodical. I mean, and I know noirs can be that way, but this just felt like it went on
dude, this is
for a
an hour and
long
10, bro,
time.
and this is
Hmm?
an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it just felt like long. And when I say that, this is coming from like, when I watch Inception, which is how long is that movie roll? Like
2
2 hours.
hours and 20 something.
This felt longer than Inception.
Yeah,
And it's just because you're not Inception. There's a lot of cool shit going on, and there's just a lot of the story and detail. And this, it's I don't know, it's just not very strongly edited, um, and just it's very slow.
yeah. Brad, you could have watched this on the Criterion channel, by the way.
Yeah, would it
Um,
look better? Maybe. Would it had no
yeah,
commercials? Maybe.
it would have
Yeah,
had the
it
most
would have had
recent.
commercials.
It would have had the most recent scan, at least. But yeah, because mine was still really grainy though. I can
Yeah,
tell you that right now.
mine was great. Like I said, like everything was in focus and pretty clean, but when you looked at it like the lighter textures, it was grainy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I like to call this is not a big complaint, y'all. We're like, this was probably. Let's be
No,
real. Let's be real
it's
here.
98. That's kind of expected.
It
I'm
was
just
shot on
saying,
60 millimeter black and white film, and it was probably like really cheap film, and that's all you could get.
if you go and Clerks has been cleaned up to who knows how long and back. So I'm sure if you watch the original of that or
Oof.
before the first few cleanings, I'm sure it was very, very
Yeah.
grainy and difficult to watch.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But
So that
Brett,
doesn't deduct any points. I'm just telling people, hey, if you watch this, it's going to have grain. It's going to have film
yeah,
grain.
it's gonna be really rough film. But Brad, I am not the biggest fan of this movie. Um,
Nah.
there's a lot of promise here, like a lot.
I want to see. Do, I'll interject and then I'll let you go
Yeah,
through the whole thing. I want to see Hobbs like just show up. It would have been cool if Hobbs just shows up like randomly in like Nolan's movies. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but this movie was really rough around the edge here. I like the story. I really do like the story. I think it's a really interesting approach to his first movie, but the pacing is all over the place. Like it's really dragged out. The what's it called? The overall directing is not engaging at all. Like it wasn't able to really hold me that much. Where I was more so waiting for this to end rather than to like actually digest what's going on. Um,
And there at the, and there's parts of this where it's like Nolan's trying to do a twist, but it
yeah,
doesn't quite get there.
yeah. But I do. I always am a big fan of the way that Nolan approaches noir because like you can tell that Nolan loves cinema. Like he loves film so much, and he's been able to study all these like great noirs before his time. So he kind of takes that and he influences it with like this modern approach to storytelling that he's crafted over the years. So like I really like his approach. I think that it's like really unique. It's just that here it's like really hard for him to find his footing. Like I was just I was like, oh wow, okay, somebody's getting shot here. I was like, okay. Like, oh, now they're just like going out to do another thing. Like,
Yeah,
I was like, I don't
it
really
didn't
care.
connect. It didn't really connect as well. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, some random dude got shot and covered her floor, and
yeah,
apparently she's sleeping with both of them for whatever reason. And yeah, most of the characters you didn't really care about.
yeah. Whereas like he takes all of these things and he improves on it vastly, and he uses it in what's it called in Memento.
Oh
Where
yeah,
like, okay, all those things that you're trying to work with here, like time and noir, all these things, like, oh, you're gonna just do great in Memento with it. And you're gonna do a great job with
yeah,
it.
and
But like,
that's the thing is this film you can see rough Nolan. Like this
yeah,
is like the start, like Nolan trying to figure, and because you can see framing and certain shots, and you're like, that's a Nolan shot. That's a Nolan shot through and through. Like he has some stuff down, but he doesn't have the pacing, doesn't have the editing, doesn't have quite the storytelling down. And
yeah,
then, like you said, when he gets into Memento, it all comes together there. And then
yeah.
continuing on, he doesn't like. There's no really bad film. Like if
Yeah.
you look at Nolan's, you know, his movies,
And I wouldn't even go as far to say that this is bad, Brad. I
it's
think
not
it's just
bad.
his like
It's
his.
slow,
It's
but it's not
definitely
bad.
like once you look at his films, like this is the one
I
that's
mean,
like
is it
his
my least
weakest.
favorite of Nolan? Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's his
yeah.
debut film. Like,
As
but
somebody who, by the way, has had really strong feelings about how I felt about like Dunkirk when it came out, which I'm rewatching this week. I was like, this is obviously my least favorite from Nolan.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
sorry. You. I was like,
sorry,
did you freeze?
I'm trying to like consciously like move into, and then I haven't seen Dunkirk yet, so I can't even comment on
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But for this film, like I mean, you look at movies and you just look at the Prestige and you look at Inception, you look at all those Dark Knights, and especially his Dark Knights, the noir concept that is Batman. And you look at this,
mhm.
it's kind of there.
Yeah,
I mean, Hobbs' character is kind of almost like a Batman villain. He's just a burglar, but he's kind of almost a Batman
yeah,
villain. I did like when they and this it does have humor in this film. It's subtle, but there is that Christopher Nolan humor of like when he goes and he like and the dude is like, "Yeah, I found a place to break in," and it's his
yeah.
place, and the dude's like, "There's fucking nothing here to steal. It's fucking shit." And
I gotta
you just
say,
feel bad for the guy.
and that's something that I'll always appreciate from Nolan is his like approach with humor.
Yeah.
Like it's the very dry, subtle humor that he's developed over the years. That like even in Oppenheimer, where you're dealing with some of the most depressing things in the world as the creation of like the thing that might just finally eradicate human life as it is. And he sneaks in his jokes in there and it's just like, yeah, like he does it so
I
well.
mean,
And
and
here you see where it starts. Like he really does kind of have that like eye for for his comedic writing.
And it's needed, and especially a lot of Nolan films, because
Yeah,
there is some very deep plots, I guess you
yeah.
could say.
I'll also say that this is a movie where you see the most influence from James Bond. This is where like a
Mm,
lot of moments I was like, this is like Nolan wanting to make a James Bond film. Like
kind
he's
of,
got the
yeah.
girl, you know, he's got the girl. He's got like the very morally ambiguous what's it called, thief,
Hmm.
and the guy who's like what's it called, being taken under his wing. It's like, dude, like this is as James
Yeah,
Bond as
you
you can
had
get.
the mob boss, basically. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, oh man, like this is as James Bond as it can get, man. Like this is his attempt at trying to do James Bond. And look, I thoroughly believe that that Nolan will actually get to do that. He's gonna get to do it. Like it's
I
gonna
think he's.
come soon.
I mean, I except who owns Bond? Is it Warner
Uh,
Brothers?
no, MGM,
Who owns MGM?
Amazon now.
Okay, that Nolan
Yeah,
might actually get to do it.
yeah. I think he will. I think he will
Yeah,
100% get to do it. Um, but it's just a matter of time. But Brad, you got anything else? Any final
I
thoughts
mean,
here? I'm
the
trying to
music
think
was
about
kind
it.
of cool in this.
That like
Yeah.
the repeating theme.
Uh-huh.
Repeating theme was actually really really good, and and it's once again another pattern of his. Like he's gonna keep like bringing up that repeating theme, like throughout all of his movies. He's gonna rely on one single track in his films. They're like gonna be like what's it called, part of like tension that comes with his film. So I was like, oh, I really like this part. Like this is like really like indicative of what his filmography will become.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like in Tenet, that overall, just that same piece of music that keeps getting played. Yeah, fucker. It does build attention though. The sound design, I didn't have an issue really. I heard this one pretty good. And that's usually one of the biggest gripes of an Nolan movie is sound design.
It's like after this is when he decides like, oh, well, look, hold on, Memento's mix isn't terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's once he gets to like the Batman trilogy.
Oh yeah, the Batman's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
just some
this,
stuff's too loud, or the
yeah.
music's too loud, or yeah,
Which, by the
he
way,
definitely
not a
yeah.
problem in Oppenheimer, bro.
It wasn't well, and Prestige didn't really have a problem either.
No, yeah, but it's like
Inception had a problem here and
Dark.
there.
It's the Dark Knight, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, where
Yeah,
the Dark Knight trilogy, those films is where he really starts to
I
master
had an
that.
issue with Tenet. Well, yeah,
And
I
Tenet,
had
I'm
an issue
sorry,
with Tenet.
Tenet, yeah, Tenet, yeah.
Interstellar, yeah, there might have been a few.
It's mostly when like he's dealing with the spaceship. It's
Hmm.
just so fucking loud, and his dialogue is like super low. But who are we, man? To what's it called? To question the man, right? He's the one who makes it. He's
I
the one who
mean,
makes the movies.
when it comes to sound design, I think you're allowed to question a little bit because you're
Yeah,
listening to it and you're like, "What the fuck, man?" Like,
yeah,
I know your audience ain't like over 80. I
yeah,
know the majority of them's not over 80, bro.
yeah. What are you gonna go ahead and give? What's your final verdict, Brad?
Ah,
I know what
I'm
mine is.
feeling, I'm feeling a 6.
You're feeling a six.
I'm feeling a
All right,
6
man. I have to come in a little bit lower than you, Brad.
because I don't know what my lowest was because I haven't really given low for Nolan.
Oh man, yeah. I think you've always like you're either at
It's been
eight
at
and
least an
eight and
8.
above.
Yeah,
You're eight and
even
above.
Tenet. I think even Tenet, which I didn't like, was like a 7.5.
Yeah. So I'm coming in a little lower, Brad. This one really just fell flat for me. Really didn't do much for me. I'm coming in at least a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
this
can
is
see it.
100% his weakest film. It's my least favorite from him. And like I said, I'm
Slow.
gonna rewatch. I'm going to rewatch Dunkirk. So I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it now. But I know that like back then when I watched it, I was like, that was good. I was like, that's it. I was like, oh, that's
There
that's
was,
good.
and sometimes that's what it is. It's just like, well, that was good. It's nothing monumental that I'm,
Yeah,
and that's kind of how I felt with this one movie I just watched. It's like, well, it wasn't like actually
terrible.
it was kind of bad.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was kind of bad, but I like Alan Rickman, so there you go.
And like I said, it's 2016 when that film came out. I was a different person. I was a what's it called? Way different uh, person who was getting into movies differently. So now I'm gonna watch it with the eyes of somebody who's like 26, and it's
and has seen quite a few more
so
movies
yeah,
and
yeah,
cinematic and kind of understands the background a little better. I mean,
yeah,
hell, we've watched Stalker,
yeah.
and
So
Stalker just totally changes your
yeah,
ideas on how a sci-fi is made. Honestly,
yeah. So I'm gonna see what's up, man. Um, but yeah, with that said, that concludes our review of Following. And of course, like we said, if you want to keep up to date with us, please check us out on thenerdcore.com for our website. Twitter is the nerdcore underscore. Instagram is the nerdcore. Patreon.com/the nerdcore. For $1 a month, you get early access to this episode. It's live for you, and you get to interact with us, and we get to talk to you guys before it goes, public on the next day at 12 Central Time. We want to talk about, you know, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, following, whatever you want. First of all, you can comment on our YouTube video. It helps us out a lot, and we want to interact with you guys. But most importantly, you can join our Discord by checking out the description on both the audio and video version. So if you want to go ahead and join that, it is available in the description. Of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you're leaving a like on the video, subscribing to the channel, clicking that notification bell so you don't miss a single piece of content that drops on the channel. And then if you're on the podcast side of things, make sure you're leaving a 5-star review on the app that lets you do that, which for now I believe it is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So please go and do that. It helps us out a lot. It helps the show get to more eyes, and also helps us what's it called? Apply for Rotten Tomatoes critics, stuff like that. Of course, we want to thank our patrons who make this possible. You all are the best, and you all are the reason that we're able to do this. Especially our producer Shane. Where can you find Shane, Brad?
you can follow our friend Shane at twitch.tv/xsrk or at Twitter at thriftedil or go buy something from the Suppy God at prisoncityvintage.com.
Damn straight. Go and check all that stuff out because he's a great guy, and we thank him so much for his help here and being a patron.
Love you, Shane.
And of course, y'all already know how this works, so I'll go ahead and repeat it again. We will not have a public review on Thursday because we are doing our mini pod, and you can get that at patreon.com/nerdcore at the $5 tier. Also on Wednesday, it is our review, our movie commentary of Francis Ha, which you also get on the $5 tier. So if you join this week, not only do you have access to those two things, but you also have access to all the other ones that we've been doing these last couple of months. And yeah, go and check that out. Patreon.com/nerdcore. But in the meantime, Brad, let's go ahead and send him out of here.
All right, Raul. Thank you for being host as always. Thank you to all our listeners out there, all our patron supporters. We appreciate each and every one of you. And to end this episode, watch your back. Young Yoda out.